So I'm kind of in a place where I really could use some advice here. So I am, as you know, a rookie investor. I have a few single family, and it's just not quite getting me where I want to go. And I'm just curious from your perspective, you have much more years of experience than I do. What would you consider is the next best step for somebody who's looking to maximize their returns and minimize their headaches and amount of active work that's needed in real estate investing?
So it sounds like, so to better understand your question, the problem right now is that you're not making enough money off of the current rental houses that you have. It's requiring too much of your time and attention, a combination of the two.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really a problem. I think it's just me looking to best optimize the use of my time and money in that sense. And that's kind of what's leading to the question is,
Okay.
from somebody who's done it all, what would you suggest for a rookie in my kind of shoes?
Sure. So everybody's coming from a different place, right? And so the two things to understand just initially jumping off the bat is you have active and you have passive when you're talking about real estate investments. Active means you're the one doing all the work. You're pulling the trigger, everything. So if you're doing single family rentals, that means that you're finding the deals. You need the relationships with the real estate agents. You're scouring auction sites. You're trying to connect with, do direct marketing to get in touch with sellers, right? So that takes time and effort. You're vetting all of the deals, and then when you buy the property, you're actually running and managing the asset itself. Okay, so there's active real estate investing. A lot of times with active real estate investing, you can potentially make more money, but it takes a lot of your time. And if you're brand new at it, you could also get your ass handed to you on the very first deal that you do and then be out of the game forever.
Right.
Right? From a passive perspective, somebody can invest passively in real estate by investing in other people's deals. Okay? So they don't have to find the deal. They don't have to figure out how to fund it. They don't have to close on it. They don't have to run the deal. They don't have to do any of that stuff. What they have to do is they have to find somebody who has a team and a system and a machine built out already that's already doing all of those things, right? And then they can simply just lend their money, assuming that they have some, to that person who's already a professional real estate investor, and then just sit back, let them do all the work, and they collect a return on their cash, right? So it really, from the way that you framed the question, it sounded like you were trying to build your cash and your nest egg without having to do a lot of work yourself. If that's the case, passive is the way to go, right? I know people in passive investing through real estate, it's totally realistic for somebody to get 10 to 20% returns on their cash without having to do any work other than just vet the deal before they wire their money in. It can be very hands-off, so that would really be where I would say you should be looking. And then there's a whole other conversation after that, which is if you're investing as a passive investor, you can invest as a private lender and you can be debt, or you can invest as a private investor and you can be equity. There's differences in those two different kinds of investments, but you can invest either one of those two ways if you want to go the passive route.
That makes sense. What do you think are some of the possible ramifications of just doing single family, I guess? I know you used to own quite a bit and then you transitioned. What was the purpose of that, and kind of what did you learn through that transition?
Yeah, so I started out with rental real estate doing single family. And I think that, like most people, it just seems like the idea of doing large multifamily complexes, 100 unit plus, never even crossed my mind as like something that people do, So for whatever reason, single family was just the only thing that I ever thought about really when it was buying rental real estate. Actually my dad and I bought a couple properties together. I had upwards of 18 doors, single families. I had a couple spread out here and there. For some reason, I thought it was a good idea to like dabble in a couple different markets to find out the market that I liked the best. Makes sense, but owning properties in 4 different markets is a pain in the ass from a management perspective, right? And it's also not helping us reach any economies of scale with having multiple properties. You should be able to leverage the size of your portfolio to get better property management fees, right? I wasn't able to do that because I was spread out in 4 different areas. But you know, what I realized from owning those properties, number one was that they were more time and effort than I thought. I wasn't self-managing them. We had property management companies in place for every single one. But again, multiple markets, multiple property management companies. It was always different conversations depending on the property that we were talking about, right? So it was way more work than I initially thought. You know, the age-old wisdom is, oh, just hire a third-party property management company. You don't have to do anything. Like, that's not true. You have to manage the property manager to make sure that the property performs. It is what it is. So that was one thing. And then the second thing was that we just really weren't making as much money as we thought we were going to by the time all the expenses are paid, and you wind up, you know, at the end of the year. Making money on paper versus having money left over in the bank at the end of the year, I learned were really 2 totally different things. Gotcha. And so we were still making money, though, on those units, right? So it just became a realization that was, I'm going to need way more of these than I initially thought coming in. So coming in, I'm thinking, you know, 30 paid off houses and I'm financially free. And that wound up really not being what I personally experienced. So the question became, how do I do this faster, right? Speed. I'm after financial freedom. I don't want to be 87 by the time I get it with 300 houses. I'd rather get there by the time I'm 47 if possible, right? Sure. And so that led me down that multifamily path. And there's a lot of other reasons, though, now that I'm in the multifamily space, that I think multifamily makes more sense than single. Number one, you can apply leverage across the entire asset, right? So I can have one mortgage on 100 units, whereas I'm buying properties onesie, twosie, you know, you wind up with a bunch of different mortgages. Yeah. So it's easier to service one mortgage. From a occupancy standpoint, because I have so many units at one location, I am less susceptible to vacancy being a major issue on my property, right? I have 3 single family homes. All 3 of them wind up coincidentally moving out at the same time. Or if I have a triplex, now I'm covering that all by myself, right? If I have a 130 unit property, what are the chances that 130 people are moving out all in the same month? Right. It's virtually 0, right? So I can have 13 people move out and still have 90% occupancy. Usually you're 60, 70% occupied, you're paying your mortgage and all of your expenses with no problems. I can have property management on site, right? I can have a leasing agent literally on site. I can have a maintenance person on site. Allows me to fix issues that tenants have in their units faster, helps me retain people better. I'm able to get better interest rates most of the time when we're taking out debt on these properties, 130 units over 1 unit, right? I'm getting better terms. So there's a lot of things to like about it, I think, but from just a scale perspective, economies of scale, it makes a ton of sense to be in the multifamily space than the single, you know. I wish I had learned that sooner. I would have been buying 100 units years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense.